Hi everyone, it's Heidi from flutterbyheidi.co.uk. I'm Heidi Smith. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator based in the United Kingdom, and today I'm creating with the beautiful Nature's Harvest stamp set and a paper which might have slipped you by in the new annual catalogue called Pretty Prints. And this is one that isn't part of a suite as such, but it works so well with lots of the suites. So it's a bit like that the sun prints. It's designed to look like that kind of photoreactive paper where you put down a leaf or whatever, leave it in the sun, and it reacts with the sunlight. So you have got 4 different colours in this, so or 4 tonal shades, because actually it's got more than 4 colours in it. So you've kind of got the Evening Evergreen, Blackberry Bliss, Sweet Sorbet, and Calypso Coral and Blushing Bride, Bermuda Bay. This one's also got hints of Soft Succulent and Soft Sea Foam. You've got sort of bits of, I've put some Fresh Freeze with this, which looks lovely. They've actually suggested Gorgeous Grape as well. You've got Deep Purple in there. So loads of colours. And on the one side it's these reactive prints, and you get 4 sheets each of 3 designs. So those are our kind of 3 designs. No, have I got all 3 designs? I can't remember. I've got all 3. I think those. Anyway, yeah. And on the back, there we go. We've got these lovely designs, but they all work so well, with each other. 12 by 12 sheets anyway. But well worth a look, because if you like anything that's floral, you've kind of almost got something that will go with anything at all, with some great sort of almost neutral colours. Nature's Harvest is one, it's been around a little while, but it is a lovely stamp set because you've got not only the images that are cut out with the dies, you've then got background dies as well. So you've got these ones which will create lovely panels. You've got this kind of almost echinacea one that I've used here, the sort of stem wheat sheaf, and then you've got a couple of really lovely labels as well that go with that, and then a branch. And the branch is the one I probably haven't used as much as anything. I'm kind of, I just haven't got around to it really, but anyway, they're really useful. That one is probably more of a wintry one. I'm thinking sort of when it comes to winter that will work well. And then some lovely script font sentiments, yeah, so that's what we're going to do. And I've just made this pillar U-fold. Lots of pillar cards around at the moment. I just wanted one that would fold flat to go in, but then opened up. And sending healing thoughts. May nature's beauty bring peace to your soul. So, and I've just coloured these with good old blender pens. Don't forget about them. They turn, it means you've got kind of any colour handy. And as I said, I've used the die cuts on the background here, and then on the reverse I've just popped a panel for you to write a message or a sentiment as well. You can see just a hint of a shimmer there. I've just used a little bit of Wink of Stella. So first thing I'm going to do then is do some die cutting and some stamping. So I've got a piece of basic white here which I've added our adhesive sheet onto the back. So that's what I'm going to use to create the wheat sheaf. Now, you're not going to need all of these, so if you think about the fact that I'm going to have one here which I'll cut, and then your next 2, don't cut out more than you need, so cut the first one, then cut the shorter ones. So that's our first bit of die cutting. Next thing we're going to want to do is do some stamping. So because I'm going to colour with a blender pen, I am going to use some memento for my colouring. I'm just going to cut myself a piece of cardstock here. I'm going to want a piece that's 10 by 14 for the back, so I can do that first. So that's my piece ready for stamping, and then the other piece of my half sheet I'm just going to use for stamping my images. So this is the big floral image that I'm going to stamp, and I want 2 of these. So I'm just going to ink that up really well with memento, and then just going to sort of angle that, trying to make the most out of my cardstock. And as you can see, it's a red rubber stamp, and it really does stamp beautifully. You don't need to use your Stampin' Pierce mat because it is a red rubber stamp. Just make sure you leave enough space between your 2 images for the die, like so. And then most of you will know when I do my die cutting, if you're not using a magnetic plate, a couple of bits of post-it note or a couple of bits of post-it note tape, just to hold that in place so that it die cuts out as you need. And then the last bit of die cutting that we want to do is just using our. I'm going to do a slightly different one. So my original one I did in soft sea foam with the kind of evening evergreen paper, and it's because I was doing a class where I'd used all three other colours and I wanted to show them what they could do with the rest of their paper. So I used this as the evening evergreen sample. So we made 3 cards in the class, and this was the 4th one. And I'm just going to show you what we do with this one. So again, I'm just going to pop that in there. Grab a bit of post-it note just to hold it in place because I'm kind of cutting it out, and then we'll yeah, so that's my soft it isn't soft sea foam at all, it's soft succulent, this one. So it'd be interesting to see how this one turns out. So let's get those pieces of die cutting done. Just a reminder, when you're die cutting a sort of a long image, make sure you pop it through at an angle. So if you pop it through your plate at an angle like that, don't put it straight because that'll curl your die. Likewise, don't put it across horizontally because that will make it difficult for you to get good pressure. You pop it across at a diagonal like that and you'll get a really nice die cut. And then all I'm going to do, and you can use a brush or you can use a sponge, is I'm just going to come in with that die cut with a little bit of soft succulent ink. I'm just going to brush that slightly over there. Take the piece of tape off. Isn't that typical? Try not to come off when I want it to. You can see I'm just going to, and those bristles are so soft that they will get in there. So when you lift it off, you've actually got some extra detail on there as well. Just another way to add a little bit of interest to our die cuts. While I've got my soft succulent ink out, I'm just going to take this little sort of spray image and I'm just going to stamp it a couple of times in this instance and once on the other side, just to kind of give myself space for my sentiment. So I'll pop that to one side. And let's bring in my die cuts. So there we go. And here are my 3 pieces, my sprigs. And as you can see here, I haven't even cut all of one of those. You know, you can just do a little bit or all of it as you want. Put my dies away as I go along. Otherwise I'm going to get in a mess. So the next thing I want to do is actually colour this image in. So you're going to cut 2 of those, and I'm going to use a bit of soft succulent. So I've just got a piece of acrylic here that I've dipped into the top of my sweet sorbet ink. I've done the same with my soft succulent, and then on here I've dipped it in crushed curry, and I've come in and just added a drop of my Wink of Stella onto it as well. So all we're going to do now is do a bit of colouring. So what I tend to do is I come in and kind of, with that first sort of dip, I come in at the very top and on the edges of those petals where I think it's going to be darkest. So in the centres there. And obviously these are kind of like, they're echinaceas, they could be gerberas. I rather like sweet sorbet. It's at least a pinky kind of red that is growing on me. Of all the colours in the new ink colours, I think this is growing on me, certainly. And certainly the ink colour is lovely when it's kind of softened down like this. I tend to avoid the brights. We had some quite bright colours a few years back that I wasn't a great fan of. They were really bright, but you know, each to their own. Very much primary colours. My natural go-to is probably the subtles, I think. So I like the brights, but perhaps stamped off a little bit as well. And then, as you can see, as you work, the colour gets lighter anyway on the blender pens, and you can always come in at I quite like coming in afterwards with blender pen a little bit more. Or you could obviously use your Stampin' blends. You know, if you've got Stampin' blends, yeah, great. Use those as well. But this is a quick and easy way for you to get colour in. You know, when you've got an ink pad, you can, in a blender pen, you can colour in any colour. So now I'm going to do the same with my soft succulent, and I'm just coming in the darker bit, kind of where it's sort of almost hidden behind the other ones, where it would be in a shadow slightly. So on these ones in the background, and then just come in, start in the centre and work in the bottom and work my way up. As I say, there are many out there who are much better at colouring than me, I am sure. But you know, just shows that you don't have to have studied art to do this. You know, the tools, if you get the right tools, you can have a really pretty and creative time with these. So that's almost done. All I'm going to do now is just come in with my Wink of Stella, and as I say, the only thing I've done is dipped it in the ink and then squeezed a drop of Wink of Stella onto the top of that, and I squeezed a bit hard, so I've actually got a little bit more there than I really needed, but it just adds a little bit of shimmer to it. So I'll pop those out of the way before I get myself into an inky mess. So there we've got two flowers, we've got our stems, and now what we need to do is create that card base that we want, as you can see here. So it's really simple. I'm going to cut my DSP first. So the DSP I'm cutting is again the Evening Evergreen, and I'm going to just cut it at 10 centimetres. Probably should have said I have done this in inches for US cardstock, so or if you prefer inches, so you know, you'll be fine with that. You want a piece that is 10 by 10 for the centre. I'll put those inches measurements on my blog, and all being well, I will also pop them on my in the description box below the video on YouTube. You then want two pieces. You want 2 pieces for each side, so 4 pieces that are 1.5 by 10. So by cutting it at 10, I can then cut myself 4 pieces. I'm just going to keep those kind of in pairs together for each side. And if you wanted, you could actually do 6 of these pieces, and you could put them all around the pillars. But I rather like having the lighter colour in the middle. You don't really see it. I think it might have made it a little bit dark. So when you fold it flat, you see the layers that way. Okay, so I've cut those. Oh, we've got one bit of stamping I haven't done yet, and that's the sentiment, so I need to do that. And then we need to actually do our card base. So for this, if you're working in centimetres, you want to trim this to literally 29.5. Now, if you forget, it doesn't matter. Those extra 2mm won't, it will actually be hidden in the kind of where it attaches, because I'm going to score first of all at 1.5, and then we are going to score at 3.5. So I'm just moving my block out of the way before I get ink on it. 3.5. At 5.5, that's 7.5. And then just scooch across to 22, 24, 26, and 28. So I'm just going to do that sentiment, and let's die cut that out. So it's quite a big sentiment. You might prefer to do it on a stamparatus. It's quite narrow. There we go, that's actually worked quite well. And then you're just going to die cut that with this lovely long bar. So all I'm doing with this is I'm kind of lining up the bar on the bottom of the sentiment there where it says May Nature's Beauty, and then let's die cut that through. Okay, right, so now we're ready to finish off our card. So grab your bone folder and just reinforce these score lines. You want to reinforce them quite well on this because it's going to be folding flat, so you want to make sure they all line up. As you fold it, just make sure that those are aligned top and bottom. And then just come in and just nip off the kind of tiny little notch off that very end one. And that'll just help it sit nice and neatly. While it's flat, now's the time to add some of your DSP to these outside ones. So these are the fiddly ones because they are because they're narrow. So you want to put them on this one and this one, so the ones next to those long panels. So just add some adhesive to that. Oh, I'm actually looking at that. I wonder, have I cut that a little bit on the short side? Oh, I have. I need to trim that down to 10.5 centimetres. And obviously that was going to be an inches one. So, as well to check. Now what I will need to do is just lift that piece up and stick it back down so it is centralised. Again, have I cut those? Have I been a wally? Oh, no, it is 10. That's fine. Okay. There we go. Beauty of using Tombow in that instance. I'm just lining up because I've kept them in pairs. Okay. And these, as I say, you know, kind of direction, actually, they're quite a nice overall pattern, so it really doesn't matter too much on those. There we go. So now that we've done that, we're going to put our sides in. So fold it on the second score line on each side and add the adhesive to that 1.5 centimetre line. Now when you come to, if you're doing it in inches, it'll be a 1/2 inch line, so it'll be a bit narrower, but don't worry about that. You'll see I'm keeping the glue away from the edges, and the reason for that is because when you fold it in, if it squelches at all, it's not going to affect the it's not going to stick the other piece of cardstock to it. So just hold that in place for just a second. Same here, fold it and fold it flat. And a good nice burnish on that. What I should have done is before I added it, I could have added my back panel. Let's hope I did cut this one correctly. I'm just looking a bit wide. Oh, that's fine. It's like once you've cut incorrectly once, you start thinking, what was I thinking? I think it's because I must have grabbed that 1/2 sheet of card out and assumed it was a 10.5 centimetre 1/2 sheet of A4. And then we can just add our centre panel, and this is why you want to wait to put this one in, because you want to just make sure it's nice and central. in that, you know, where you've actually glued it together. So we can add that in. And now I can come in and take the backing off these pieces as well. So this is where it's going to be fun and games, because obviously I've die cut these, so it's going to be really well set. So pokey tool is a good way of doing it. Obviously you could just add glue to the back of these, but because they're quite fine, I felt that it would work better with some adhesive sheet. And I'm just lining those up with the very bottom of that panel. And as I say, I've got 3 of kind of varying heights. So just come in. I'm just popping that, there you go, and you can see, pull that off, roll my finger, my pokey tool will work better there. And again, by changing the height, it actually makes it look just a little bit different rather than repetitive. And again, you could vary it, you could have a taller one in the centre. I tend to do higher at the left coming down to the right. Don't know why, it just is something I do. And then pop this last one in as well. There we go. So we can clear those out of the way, and I'm going to grab some of my quicker grab glue in my fine tip here. So I'm just coming on the left edge of this sort of echinacea type flower. I'm just going to pop that onto the front there, and then just snip like so. And I can do the same with my other 2. So on the one, I want to come on this left edge here. So I'm just going to come down like so. And again, I can just have a look at that, make sure that's working well, pop that over the top. And then obviously do it on the opposite side on this one. So I'm coming down on this right hand side and adding my adhesive to that there, just kind of taking a rough line down the right. Where that's popped off, I'm just going to push that down. And again, once that's layered up, I'm going to trim that. And all I'm doing to add this piece is I'm grabbing a couple of dimensionals, I'm putting one right on the end there, and I'm putting another one next to it. And that's going to sit on the edge there, just on those 2 pieces where they overlap, and there's kind of quite a substantial piece behind. So pop that in. I'm just going to centre that like so. So there we have our fold flat sort of U-fold card, our pillar card, using lovely Nature's Harvest, Sweet Sorbet, or Seafoam and Rich Raspberry. Do you have a preference? What do you think? I think either would work well, and certainly you've got plenty of space on the back there to write a personal message as well. If you'd like to purchase any of the items you've seen, just pop along to my shop at flutterbyheidi.co.uk and follow the links to shop. Click in the description box below here and you'll find the links to all the products as well. I really appreciate it when people choose me as a demonstrator. You know, I'm not one of the big ones, but I do a happy dance. So thank you for watching and supporting, and for liking. And if you're not subscribed, and you could subscribe and hit that notification button, that would be fabulous too. You take care, and I'll see you again soon. Bye now.